page 64 of the book, The Shamanistic Wisdom or Shamanic Wisdom in the Pyramid Texts by Jeremy Naydler, in reference to Heru and Osiris being one and the same, whether alive or departed. The text clearly states that the king has departed, but that he has not departed dead. He sits on the throne of Osiris with an Abba, lotus bud, scepter in his hand, so that he may give orders to the living. The words alive and living are unequivocal in the Pyramid of Unas, where this text first appears. They are both written with the Ankh sign, which in the case of the living is written 3 times to denote plurality. Before this paragraph, he took an excerpt from the Pyramid of Unas. I don't know which utterance this is, but he is very important. He says that, "O king, you have not departed dead, you have departed alive. Sit upon the throne of Osiris, your scepter in your hand, that you may give orders to the living." Then he says that the king sits on the throne of Osiris with an Abba, in parentheses, lotus bud. Okay, always understand that in the ancient Hindu and Indus Kush Valley area, the lotus bud or lotus plant was a symbol for the chakra and or chakras that etherically reside on and about the spinal column of man, which represents the serpentine fire and which represents the saptana plant. Okay, so a scepter in the hand of one who was in the throne of Osiris, called an Abba, right? Because the other scepter is called a Uas, and this carries the head of the ancient primordial god Sut, which the animal is either considered a greyhound, a jackass, or a combination of both, along with a jackal, just an unknown animal. So he says that he sits on the throne of Osiris with an Abba, scepter in his hand, so that he may give orders to the living. And I just find that extremely amazing because, like I said, I've been studying this thing, dealing with the obelisk, the gods, and the power that they possess if you let them possess them over you, or you become the embodiment of the gods and you possess the power yourself, which is the Christ energy and the telluric energy of the earth mother, most anciently known as Ta-Earth and or Tiamat, over 3,000 plus years ago in ancient Sumeria. Ancient Sumeria was filled with Ethiopians, Cushites, Puntites, people of Akkad, the people of Phoenicia, they were all Egyptians. They were all Eastern to Middle Eastern, Northern, Southern Africans. The word Africa does not come from, I think his name is Leo Africanus. It's bullshit. The word Africa is a concoction of what was found in secret by these people. It was Afu-Ra. The Ka was either added on or is lost in the translation, for I have not found any reference for the Ka to be after Afu-Ra. But I do know that the Ka represents the etheric double of the human being, and therefore the Ka in the phrase Afu-Ra Ka represents the house, i.e. flesh, of God, or of Ra, or Ra'atum, and its divine double, or its heavenly double, or its primordial double, its connection to the past, the present, and the future, the Ka, its connection to the biocentric system of the solar system, the earth, and the human being, the Ka. So Afur Raka is you in the house of Ra. You represent, as they say, let us make man, woman in our image. You represent the image, the Ka, the double, the reflection, the mirror image, the image idea, or the idea image, the light image of the gods, who were none other than remnants of primordial Ka energy that existed prior to this universe that we live in today. So the Ka, the scepter, Osiris, and the spinal column in plugging into the brain is very important. Dealing with this whole shit, dealing with this whole thing, dealing with everything. Everything from time to slavery, you know what I mean? The king's accession to the throne of Osiris could mean that he has mystically passed through the Osirian death and subsequent birth or rebirth. The Osirian death means his departing. The subsequent rebirth means the lotus bud scepter, symbolizing, among other things, his rebirth. Okay. But while the Egyptians did use the Ankh to refer to the dead, they also used it to refer to the literally living. In accepting possible equivocation in the use of the Ankh, we have also to accept that it must sometimes have meant the literally living, or else it would no longer have retained the meaning living and would have always simply meant the dead. In order for a word to be used equivocally, it must sometimes mean what it says. So we cannot be sure whether the living in this particular passage are in fact the dead. It depends on our interpretative stance. Likewise, when it comes to the king being alive or dead, it is not a clear cut, for we notice that the Ankh in the singular is contrasted with the word for dead, met, M-E-T, and it is another word for met, which is today's mat, which is carpet, which lies flat on the floor, which is the position of the deceased in the sarcophagus. Met. And it is explicitly stated that the king has not departed dead, met, but alive, Ankh. In this case, it is surely perverse to claim that the king who has not departed dead really is dead on the grounds that he is referred to as having departed alive. Once again, perhaps we should ask ourselves, what if the Egyptians wanted to convey that the pharaoh really was alive and not dead? How else could they have done it other than by writing the word alive and explicitly contrasting it with the word dead? For those who support the funerary interpretation, it has to be a fiction, because if it were not a fiction, then the pyramid texts would cease to be simply funerary texts, but would have to be regarded also as mystical texts concerning the journey of the living pharaoh into the spirit world. The origins of the Osiris myth and cult would not be funerary, but shamanic. Shamanic.